all over Egypt. They even worshiped dung beetles, the scarabs, sacred animals. What happened? Men started worshiping nature rather than man ruling over it. What made polytheism such an indignity to humans, and why God hated it so much, is because you end up worshiping cows and bulls and goats and falcons and ibises when they should really be worshiping you. Yes? Do you see what I mean? It's a complete flip-flop of what God commanded in the beginning. He said, Adam and Eve, you have dominion over all of these creatures. They are here to serve you. As my emissaries, they are in a sense to worship you. If this is a cow and a cat and a dog and a cow and whatever, can do that. But what ends up happening after the fall? Men started worshiping cows and ducks and goats and pigs and beetles and the sun and you see the reverse? See how sin perverts everything? And as a result, men become slaves to this evil system. That's why God was so upset with all of their polytheism. Because it's a complete indignity to what he intended. What did he intend? That you rule over the earth and everything on it. What happens? The world rules over them. I love this line from the Ten Commandments. If you know the Charlton Heston movie, it's not in the Bible, but I love it. I love it. There's a scene where the stones are about to crush this old woman, and Joshua, the stone carver, strikes an Egyptian to stop the movement of the stones. And Moses, the prince of Egypt, comes by and says, well, what's going on, and he frees Joshua because he admires his courage. And he says, Moses asks Joshua, which God do you serve? And he goes, the ever-living God. And he goes, if your God's so powerful, why does he keep you in bondage? And he goes, God made men, but men made slaves. I love that. Again, this is a reverse of what is supposed to be. Are men to be enslaved by other men? No, we're to rule equally over all of the earth. But slavery is a grave injustice to the human person. And you say, well, we don't have slavery anymore. How about prostitution? That's a little more than slavery. Don't tell me it's not. Oh, nowadays we call it human trafficking. Honey, it's slavery. And it's an injustice to the person. Why? Because a person shouldn't rule over another person. Do you see what I'm saying? You see how sin perverts the integrity of what does God want for us? To rule over the earth. What happens? We rule over each other. We have animals we worship. Do you see? Manolo.
That's a good point you're showing right now. And right now, we don't have God like before.
Mm-hmm.
But there's the simple thing. We spend more time on Facebook, Instagram, and we don't dedicate time to read the Bible.
Yep. Yep.
And intimidate with God.
Yep.
I mean, it's sad. Now the new generation, even us, when you go to the coffee shop, you see those guys, okay, we come to church. Sunday, we think, like you say, it's enough to give an hour to God. When you really want to intimidate with someone, really want to know somebody,
Right.
When I was doing my wife, right now, I was spend time with her, knowing what she wants, what she likes. It's the same thing in our relationship with God.
Yes.
We have to, But we don't wake up thinking about you're gonna be doing the same. Thinking about like you're gonna try to do the best for that.
Yes, and this is why. Very good. That you got it. You're there. You're going to be the first in line to heaven from here. So good. Keep it up.
Saint Manolo.
Yes, he was saying how we spend more time on this, and again, this is nature ruling over man rather than man over the machine. Is this evil?
No.
No. There's nothing inherently evil about any of this. But when it takes the place of time spent with God, then I have a problem. Then we have a problem. And again, where he analogized it to spending time with my wife. If I want to get to know her more, I want to spend time with her. That's the only way you're going to find out more. Well, if you want to know what God is like, guess what? You've got to spend some time with him. Here's a good way to do it. You want to know what God wants? You want to know what God is like? Here's a good way. What else? How about praying your rosary and meditating on the mysteries? There's a good one. How about spending some time just sitting in front of the Blessed Sacrament saying, Lord, I don't know how to love you. Lord, I don't know if I love you, but I'm here. Lord, help me. Lord, forgive me that I don't love you more. Lord, show me how to love you more. How about that? I'm telling you, there was, years ago, an old preacher said, and you know, I took it very much to heart. When I got to thinking about it, it makes a lot of sense when I translate it into Catholic terms. He said that the Lord had spoke to him that if we gave a tithe of our time to him, our lives would be changed and things would go well with us. A tithe is typically 1/10. That's what tithe means. 1/10. And so when you think about that in terms of 24 hours, a tithe would be about 2.5 hours. If you gave God 2.5 hours a day, your life would be changed and things would be well. Well, I got to thinking about it. If I prayed all 4 mysteries of the Rosary, that amounts to about an hour. About an hour, because it takes about 20 minutes maybe to go through a whole Rosary. So you do that by 4, that's about an hour. 15 minutes. I'm going to say you do it slowly, you get an hour.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
I'm trying to be generous here.
Have you read the print?
All right? And so if that's the case, then if I pray another 4 rosaries, that'd be 2 hours. You see what I mean? If we gave to God just 1/10 of our time back, what would our lives be like? You say, well, I don't want to pray all those rosaries. Well, then how about making a holy hour in front of the Blessed Sacrament? Well, I don't know what to say. Then just sit there and let him do all the talking. How about that?
You just say, Lord, I'm empty. And he'll fill you up.
Yes. Who says you got to sit there and jabber next to him constantly? How about just shut up and be in his presence? It seems to me I remember a story about one woman who was just busy with everything, and another woman who just sat and listened to our Lord at his feet. Oh, yeah. Yes. I knew I heard it somewhere. Mary and Martha. And what did our Lord say?
Mary has chosen the better.
Thank you. And I don't know about you, but I didn't read in my gospel where Mary is jabbering to Jesus about, oh Lord, I need to pray for this, and I need to do this, and she just was sitting there.
Listen.
How about if we just sat in front of the Blessed Sacrament and say, Lord, here I am.
Nothing.
How about, Lord, here I am.
Right.
Try that. And see what happens to your life. Do you hear what I'm saying, my brothers and sisters? Is that this life that we've been given is a glorious thing. And we need to give it back to the Lord that loves us more than we love ourselves. I've got news for you. And if you remember anything from the Song of Solomon, you know that if you don't know how God feels about you, read the Song of Songs. That's how God feels. What do we got? We have time for one more, I see. Now, back to Genesis 1:1. Genesis 1:26. Oh Lord, Genesis 1:1. We'll never get out of here. I was hoping to get to Genesis 2, but I kind of knew better. I kind of knew better. I know my own limitations. Oh Lord, have mercy. Anyway, what was the first commandment God gave to them? He said, don't eat that tree. Right? No, what did he say?
Multiply.
Be fruitful and multiply. Verse 28. God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it. There's that dominion element. Rule over everything. I'm giving you this authority, now live it. Go, kids, have fun. And the first commandment he gave them was procreation. It is clear from our creation account and from what we read in the Catechism, God created sexual complementarity. Male and female, he created them. Why? For the purpose of procreation. But wait, there's more. It's not simply procreative only. There's more. There's something deeper here. And I want you to hear what the Second Vatican Council had to say about this. It's in one of the, not the Constitution, it's the divine decree called Gaudium et Spes, which in Latin means hope and joy. This is from the Second Vatican Council, released in 1965. So almost 55 years ago. All right, are you ready? Brace yourself. The reason I bring this up is that everyone likes to talk about the Second Vatican Council, but the more they talk about it, the more I'm convinced they've never read the document. The more I hear people blather on about, well, Vatican II changed this, and Vatican II this, and I'm convinced whenever you hear that, these people have never read the documents. Never. The more I hear, well, Vatican II said, and I'm like, honey, have you ever read Vatican II? It's a marvelous document, brilliantly inspired by the Holy Spirit, and it says nothing like what you're saying. Right. It doesn't. Yeah. And there's one of those many examples. Now, I'm going to take a small detour, just small, because I said paragraph 50, right? And this is paragraph 8. One of these is the church and man's calling. Okay? And the other one is the dignity of the human person in chapter 1. I love this. I'm just going to do it a little bit, I promise, and then we're going to get to verse 50, or paragraph 50. According to the almost unanimous opinion of believers and unbelievers alike, all things on earth should be related to man as their center and crown. Doesn't that sound like what the Catechism just said? All creation was for man to serve him in doing what? Giving back to God. But what is man? About himself he has expressed and continues to express many divergent and even contradictory opinions. In these he often exalts himself as the absolute measure of all things, or debases himself to the point of despair. The result is doubt and anxiety. This is human philosophy. The church certainly understands these problems. Endowed with the light from God, she can offer solutions to them so that man's true situation can be portrayed and his defects explained, while at the same time his dignity and destiny are justly acknowledged. For sacred scripture teaches that man was created to the image of God, is capable of knowing and loving his Creator, and was appointed by him as master of all earthly creatures, One, that he might subdue them and use them to God's glory. Do you see how there's no difference between what the Vatican Council says and what our catechism says? Because guess what? Catechism just reflects what the council says, which is what the church has always believed. There's nothing new here. It's just a reaffirmation. 2, what is man that you should care for him, that you made him a little less than the angels and crowned him with glory and honor? You have given him to rule over the works of your hands, putting all things under his feet. That's from the Psalms. Psalm 8. But God did not create man as a solitary, for from the beginning, male and female, he created them. Their companionship produces the primary form of interpersonal communion. Okay? For by his inmost nature, man is a social being, and unless he relates himself to others, he can neither live nor develop his potential. Okay? So I'm going to kind of break there, because we're going to go over this idea when God said it is not good that man be alone. All right? We're going to develop that. Okay, so just hold that for right now. Now I'm going to jump to 50. Oh, 77, too much. 59, 56. Because what are we talking about? We're talking about marriage. What does the Catechism have to say about marriage? Marriage and conjugal love are by their nature ordained towards the begetting and educating of children. Okay, we know that. Children are really the supreme gift of marriage. Yeah. You got to say this as a mantra, you parents. Right? You got to keep saying that, because that's what they are. The God himself who said it is not good for man to be alone, and who made man from the beginning male and female, wishing to share with man a certain special participation in his own creative work, blessed male and female, saying, increase and multiply. This is what the council is expanding on. Hence,